All right, thank you very much for all joining us for our Business Process Automation webinar. My name's Gavin Keane, I'm the Managing Director of Cloud Made Simple, and also today we have Cole Johnson, who is our 365 Automate Project Manager. This is his baby. So just want to go through the agenda and also a little bit of housekeeping. Just firstly, please, on the right-hand side, I think what you're seeing, you can see a Q&A button. So at any time you want to ask a question, please just enter your question in, and we will get to it as we go through the webinar. Cole, can you just change the slide? And I'll just give a bit of a brief background to how we've developed this business. We've been building business automation processes for around 12 to 18 months now, but especially over the last 6 months, the demand has really increased. And I think this is because businesses are really seeing the benefits in automation, and also the price to build automations has come down quite a lot. So I think businesses are really getting behind it, and so much so that we've actually created our own division called 365 Automate. And as you can see here, the agenda for this afternoon is going to go through what is business process automation, the key benefits of it, how it works, and we're going to show you live demos of business automations that we've already built, and then how you would go and get started down this process. We've also got a very special guest today. We've got Brett Craddock from Interior, who we've built an automation process for. So he's actually going to go through the business automation process that we built for him. So looking forward to having him on the call. So without further ado, and of course after this, we're going to send out in the next day, send out the recording to everybody. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Cole, who will take us through the slide deck. Over to you, Cole.
All right. Hi, everybody. All right. So first question to answer is really what is business process automation? And simple answer, it's using technology to automate or execute recurring tasks or processes in a business where manual effort can be replaced. So that could look like accounts payable processes that rely heavily on paper invoices and copies being manually routed. That could be automated, or automating a system to track orders and customer inquiries that come in, and putting those on a dashboard and automatically prioritizing them against SLAs. It could look like delivery tracking or obtaining signatures at different stages of a sale, or logistics and capturing that information and filing it digitally. Or it could look like automating the non-conformance report process. Or in this example, you can see how something like employee onboarding and HR processes could easily be automated. Before automation, this type of process had many steps for an employee, and their paperwork were kind of handballed from one person to another, while the employee twiddles their fingers the first couple of days. Most of these items can be automated so that when an employee starts, the automation process can be triggered to send them the information required to complete. And then after submitted, can trigger each step along the way, such as scheduling of meetings with the appropriate staff, or videos or procedures they need to go through to be trained up. So getting a new employee a jump start into that productivity and saving your time and other staff's time in onboarding. So that's just a quick example of that. So here's some of the compelling reasons to consider automating parts of your business. Firstly, it can create efficiencies by reducing the work involved in processes, since employees' time is no longer wasted on the repetitive, low-level work. It can also reduce costs. So a more efficient use of time gives companies an option to increase output without expanding the workforce, or to cut payroll costs and maintain that same level of output. when you automate a business process, you can also expect a consistent standard of outcomes every time. And that standardization helps position your organization as reliable, which in turn can help increase your customer base and the client satisfaction. You can also get more clarity around your metrics. Things like process mapping and design of a process can provide all sorts of clarity to employees and serve as a good training resource. So the insights that you gain from just even analyzing a process in your company and automating it can show you the gap between where your process is and where it should ideally be. It can also improve compliance and governance. So every detail of a process is recorded, and it reduces those human errors substantially as well. All these things lead to increased customer satisfaction because you can then exceed a customer's expectations and consistently meet those promised standards. But perhaps the biggest benefit is the time savings accrued. So with more time, employees can be assigned to more important work or work that better matches their talents, contributing to higher employee morale from doing those monotonous tasks. So automation is no longer the future. It's here now. So here's some interesting stats about it. Office workers spend 69 days a year on administrative tasks, and that costs companies $5 trillion a year globally. Also, implementing automation in the office generates 30 to 200% in ROI in just the first year, and that's mainly in labor savings. And 40% of lost, so this is contrary to popular belief, but multitasking can be very counterproductive and cost companies 40% of lost productivity simply due to that constant task switching that they're doing. Also, 97% of employees and executives believe that a lack of alignment within a team impacts the outcome of a task or a project. And automation helps improve team collaboration, from syncing departmental apps to automating a long process like onboarding or reporting. So quickly, how does automation work and how do we create automations for businesses? We primarily use the Power Automate platform, which is Power Apps, Flow, SharePoint, Azure, to handle the automation. We also have a dev team that has experience building custom apps outside of Power Automate, as well as connecting outside applications into Power Apps. Actually, right now we're building a custom portal interface for a large healthcare client to automate clinical visits and invoicing of those visits. So we have a team of developers and dedicated team for each one of these projects. And as you'll see later, we have lots of off-the-shelf options that can be customized or fully custom projects. But typically how this works is that the process design determines which applications will be used and what initial method a user will use to initiate an automation, like a form or a Power App, or it could be a process triggered by an email or saving changes in a spreadsheet. And then Power Automate runs all the processes behind the scenes and easily integrates and makes this accessible through SharePoint or Teams, and either on your desktop or mobile devices. So that's the quick rundown of automation, what it is and how it works. So that's enough of I think a PowerPoint. Let's actually jump into a live demo of some automations we've built for other customers. So if you give me a minute here, I will get my screen shared for you here. All right. So the first one I want to show you is, and this is our Business Hub SharePoint site, which many of you are familiar with. And you can access this. I'll show you a lot of different options of how these automations can be accessed. But this first one's on the SharePoint site, and it's a leave request app. So we created this for a real estate developer, and they have about 40 people. They don't have an expensive HR system to handle this process. So the situation is that they were handling, like they have a process for submitting time off, but it's very manual. They had a lot of paperwork employees were filling out, which then they are sometimes remote, requiring printing and scanning and sending to their manager. Then the manager reviews, has a separate approval process, and then files it. And then keeping track of their holidays accrued was in a spreadsheet. And last of all, there wasn't any system of knowing who was on leave for which days, apart from kind of this paper or email chain. So the solution around this is what we did is we met with them, talked through the current process, identified their pain points, and then developed this app, which is really meant to easily handle all the leave management processes, requesting and approving for employees and management. So if I go into create a request, I'll go in here and select a date. All right. And you can see it automatically deducted from the leave balance. You can see leave balances here. So that request then gets sent off to the manager that I was assigned to, and that can be changed if necessary. And then what the manager does is they receive an email. Let me pull that up here. You can see in the manager's email, they have a leave request from Garrett, and they can then click to get into the Power App to approve this right then and there. So then once it gets approved, let me just jump out of this. Once it gets approved, then it gets added to a team calendar. And you can see right here, it's added their time off. So this is a very simple process now that saves them a lot of unnecessary paperwork. It took about half the amount of time, left an electronic paper trail, and displays all employee leave dates on the shared calendar for employees and management to see. All right,
Cole,
for our next, yep.
It went really quickly through, if you go back into the app, just the actual, if you go to leave balance, for example, just to show you, just highlight that. Yeah, so it goes through all the different types of leave as well.
Yep. Yeah. And I am kind of rushing through some of this because there's a few apps we want to show you, but I do want to just get everybody the idea of what is possible in automating here. Whether or not this actual app of leave request is useful to you, you can see how a process like this could be automated. So for our next one, I will jump into actually, I'm going to jump into Teams. And on the side, we've created a custom app that the whole organization has for automations. You can see these automations in here. So again, visible from lots of different types of applications. And this one we're going to do is an on-site inspection form. So this we did for an engineering consulting company. They're working in a range of construction sectors where frequent on-site inspections of buildings are required. So previously, field reps would be out in the field conducting inspections using a paper and a clipboard, taking photos on their smartphones, and then they would spend about an hour at the end of each day scanning the paperwork, uploading photos from the inspections that day, and putting them on their server. Not to mention the time writing out paperwork in the field. So this app, what's great about all these apps is you can open them from your mobile device using the Power Apps mobile app. So I can't really demonstrate that while sharing the screen right here, but you get the size of it is this. So right here, we'll go in, we'll enter our project details. And then some more project details, location, the dates. We can add some notes about what kind of work we're doing in the project. And then lastly here, our camera pulls up. We can snap a quick picture. So we snap a quick picture. We can, the screen didn't show up because I clicked it a little too quick, but you can make some notes about the picture you're taking, and you can take multiple pictures. And then what happens from there is if we go back into, we'll actually go into SharePoint here. So that then creates of all the information we filled out, it creates a PDF report of all the inspection details. And that's automatically emailed to me as the user. And it's also automatically added into a SharePoint site that we have where we want all of these to reside. So this could, be sent to a customer as well. You can see right here the report. So this saves them, 30 minutes to an hour every day, which allows them to book more inspections, allows them to obviously then gain more to their bottom line on a daily basis. And the field reps love it because they don't have to fill out paperwork by hand anymore and deal with all the admin duties. They can do it all from their smartphone. So you could see how this type of app could be customized to handle many other sort of tasks in the field, whether it's in the warehouse or in the field, that can save a business time and money. All right, for this next one, I would like to turn over to Brett from Interia. I'll give a little background on this project that we worked on with him. So they have a CRM that they're using to log in some leads that were coming in, but we're tracking sales interactions on a daily basis in a very manual way. And so we turn that into a formal process using the app that allowed them to save a lot of time for their managers and their employees to track this. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn this over to, see if we can turn this over to Brett here. All right. All right, Brett, are you there?
Yeah, I'm Cole. How are you?
All right, great.
As a business, we're trying to increase our sales interactions or customer interactions. And while we're recording opportunities in the CRM, we also, any interaction or lead, each individual salesperson was recording it and then sending that to the sales manager at the end of each day, which he manually had to put into an Excel spreadsheet. So with Cloud Made Simple, we worked on getting that automated. So it works either through the Power App, as Cole mentioned, or direct from Teams. So as each interaction happens, one of the sales team, so we have the different boxes here, so you can, so it's pre-selected if you logged into your Teams, and then you've got the date, which normally it should be happening as they happen, so the same date. And then we've got customer name, company, project name, and then we've just put together a few different types of interactions, and then any notes. And as we record leads and interactions, so if it's a new lead, we'd tick yes, and then we submit it. So for an interaction, all we do is just select the type of interaction and submit. We don't track any of the customer name, company, or any of that. It's only when there's a lead that will fill out the customer name and the company. So that's done direct through Teams, or it's done through the Power App.
In the mobile app, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
And you don't have to actually submit one now, because I know it would mess with your data that you have going on. But are you able to show then what happens with that once they submit it, and how that gets displayed?
Yeah. I'll just do a test one. That's fine. So, for example, say it was a new lead that came in, I'd normally just put the company name, and a project if applicable. Sometimes a customer name. And so if it's let's say it's a phone call, someone called the office, any notes if needed, but normally notes and that would go in our CRM. And then because it's a new lead, I'll click yes, and then that submits. And then that data, which that data goes directly into this spreadsheet here, which Cole will be able to explain better how that works. But so what we've got here, we've got the different sales reps, and then we've got a daily total of leads and MCIs, then a group total, and then we've got the same monthly totals. And then what we've done is we use Klipfolio for TV monitor screens around the office, and also on their computers, and then that data integrates directly into Klipfolio. So what you see here is on this Klipfolio screen is pulled directly from that Excel spreadsheet, and then it's displayed live on a screen. So with Klipfolio, it gets the data every hour. It is currently from the Excel spreadsheet, so it's a fairly live update of our daily MCIs and also our month-to-date MCIs.
Yep. And we've set that too, so it resets at the end of every month and resets every day as well.
Correct. Yes.
Within the Power App. So, yeah, that's great, Brett. Anything else you want to share with this?
No, that's all I had. You might be able to explain better how it was created, but it just, I guess what it's done, it's given us a live view of how we're tracking for the day as far as the interactions, and it's made it easier for the sales team to record them and just taking out a lot of manual work as far as entering into spreadsheets and sending emails.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, Brett. Really appreciate you sharing that with us and with everybody. I think it's helpful to see something that's live and in process, and how that's helped all your sales reps as well as saving a lot of your time. So thanks for sharing that, Brett. All right, I will jump back in here. And walk you through a couple more automations before we wrap up. This one you can see on my screen, we're still within, I'm in Teams, and I'm actually in a specific team channel. This one's finance, and you can see I've integrated this into a team channel. And this one's an NDA automation. So they're a retail company that works with many individual consumers on social media to highlight their products. So they create lots of partnerships with PR people and influencers, and an NDA is required for each one of those. So they need to create those pretty quickly. Previously, this was a document that they would open, customize for the individual, and then and then save it and email it. So lots of document versions being created, many emails created, wasting lots of time. So this app is pretty simple, but so we work with all the ways in which a document, you can think of this in terms of like a contract as well. Any sort of templated document that you use that you customize in a few ways, we've then built in the logic for that. So that based on what's entered, it customizes the document. And then goes ahead and creates that document. Right now I have it downloading. And we'll just open that file. But what it does for them is essentially it goes off and then emails this document right here that was created specific to that customer. It emails it to them in a PDF that can be signed and then emailed right back. So that whole process just automated. So that could be really helpful for any sort of contract or agreement or documents, and getting a signature on something like that. So it makes that whole process obviously more streamlined and professional. So hopefully you can see the uses of an application like that. The next one I want to show you, I'll jump back into the SharePoint sites, access this one. This is our timesheet automation. So this was created for a mid-sized manufacturing company that was handling lots of timesheets by paper, and as you can imagine, not very efficient for management. So we created this simple timesheet app within Office 365 that allows users to handle this from their tablets or mobile devices as well as desktops. And so the user would go in and choose the week, set the times for each, the lunch breaks, any other breaks, and then they would go ahead and save this. And then a manager can easily go in and approve this timesheet. This can be submitted by the user. And it just takes a few clicks to submit a timesheet. And then alerts are also set up to confirm breaks and lunches. So for each employee, so they can have an alert so it doesn't just be set to the same time every day if it's not taken at the same time. They can also generate timesheet reports off of this. So again, just automating some of those HR and admin processes at a company. And then the last one I'll highlight is really, it's still a work in progress, but I wanted to highlight it because it's, I think it's very applicable. So the goal of this automation is to actually help the creation and organization of projects for customers and automate the follow-up process. So what happens with this is this happens all within Teams. So whenever we have a new project started with a customer, a staff member would come in here and fill out a new project form, entering in the details about the project. The owner would default to the person filling it out, but that could be changed. You would either find a customer if there's an existing folder for them in your SharePoint site or in Teams, or you would create a new one. Enter in some basic details about the project, upload the quote, invoice details, and then that would be saved. What that would then run and do is that process would go and create a channel in Teams and a folder in SharePoint with the subfolder structure and templated documents loaded up already in there. And then staff can work away on the project and files can be added into the folder as it goes along. And then once a project is completed, the project manager would change the status of this. So they change it from, in progress to invoice. And once that's chosen, then invoice, it generates an alert to our finance team via Teams, like a Teams message, or it could be via email. And it's over to them now to take the uploaded quote and generate an invoice. And then once that invoice is sent, the finance team can easily just go in and change it to completed. Then that triggers the last bit of this automation, which is around getting project sign-off from the customer, sending off a templated email with feedback, trying to get some feedback on how the project went, and then as well as another 3 to 6 months later, an automated email following up again, asking for how the project has been going so far, and is also a way to generate some referrals. So it's an automated referral process.
So Cole, just a warning to everybody who builds an application with us, don't be surprised if you get emails from us from this exact application, because we're going to be using this too.
That's right. Yeah, and phase 2 of this project, as you can probably already see, lots of areas that could be automated. The creation of a quote, that process will be phase 2 of automating that quote creation. So we don't have to upload a quote. That really just triggers everything in this this project. And phase 3 would be connecting it into our invoicing platform. So it could be like Xero or MyOp to hook the quotes into for that automatic invoice creation. So you can kind of see how that could be automated and used in a lot of different scenarios. So that really concludes the live part of this webinar, the demo. So now let me jump back into the PowerPoint, and as we do that, I just want to check and see if there's any other questions anybody wants to ask at this point. In the Q&A over on the right, you can jump in there and ask anything, and we'll try to answer it live here while I get the last few slides up.
And we've got a question regarding the pricing, and I'll touch upon that in just a second.
Yep.
We got that up just now. So we have, I think currently we have 6 automations that we've basically made very vanilla, that range from $3.99 to $5.99, and we can deploy them very, very quickly. And that includes a little bit of customization, but not enough, not very much. But from custom projects, that they sort of range from 1,000 to 10,000. Basically, the one we've done for a healthcare company is actually 23,000. So it really depends on how complex and how much work is involved in creating each project. But some of the simple ones costing just over $1,000 to develop to the much bigger ones. And again, it's generally just time based. It all starts with the discovery. So we have an initial form that if a potential customer fills out, just telling us a bit about what they're trying to achieve, and then we start the discovery process and really finding out where the speed humps are in your business, what you're trying to achieve, and then we can provide a really solid quote based on that. So that's the way this works. Cole, have you got anything else to add to that?
No, I think that about covers it. Every business is a little different, has different needs and requirements around this. So that's where we're happy to work with you on customizing one of those off-the-shelf ones, or starting that discovery process for for something, you might envision, you probably have some processes that are painful. And I guess the first step is kind of starting that conversation with us to see how we would go about doing that.
And the actual off-the-shelf automatizations are on 365automate.com.au. You'd be able to see them there. But when we send out this, we'll send out that as well, the details for that as well.
Yep.
So again, thank you so much. Thanks, Brett, for adding your voice to it and demonstrating the application we built for yourself. Cole, thank you very much for doing the demonstrations today. If anyone's got any other questions, feel free to email myself or Cole directly, or give the office a call on 1300 30 40 47. So is there any other questions? I've got one here. What's the lead time generally on having an automation set up? Again, it's a bit of a can of worms, that one, because it really just depends on how quickly. So some automations get done, some 3 months. It really depends on how complex they become. And just a word of warning, it's how many times customers change their mind, because what we generally find is we start off with doing this and then they go, gee, wouldn't it be great if it does that? So we try to break them down into stages. So we build a scope for a particular stage, and we want to make sure that that gets deployed. And then if you want to add things along the way, we would call that phase 2, and we can add those others to the phase 2 of the project. So that's generally how we try to how do we do that?
Yep. There's a couple more quick questions here we can answer. One is, what are the ongoing costs of this? Are there any, or are they one-off costs? And I'd say typically these are one-off costs. That there may be a small license that may need to be upgraded, but in the most of the time, this technology is included in your Office 365 subscriptions. It's just about, getting it built and implemented. Yep. And somebody else asked about
Adobe Sign.
Yeah, Adobe Sign, asking about what would you use for signing delivery documents, and this is something we've worked on before as well with the client, is integrating DocuSign into SharePoint. So that you could be out in the field using a tablet, and using within SharePoint, you can open it on your tablets, get a document signed, and then have that saved right back into a specific SharePoint folder from there. So it can all be done right from the tablet using DocuSign.
Yeah, another question there, how does the scoping process work? Basically, it starts off by a form. We have a project form that we'll send out, and that it really helps in us understanding what it is you're trying to achieve. Then basically what happens is Cole's the project manager. Cole will be in touch and do a rough run through in regards to just trying to do a discovery. It's at that point then we need to decide whether we want, well, as both of us, do the scoping process. So after the initial discovery, we go through a scoping process, and that's basically when we start billing for this. And then once the scoping process is completed, it goes into development process and then deployment after that. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think we always try as much as we can to provide those cost estimates as up front at the beginning as we can. But it does get a bit challenging when we get if we don't get far enough into a project or do enough discovery or scoping that we can't provide any accurate costs. As kind of with any project in business, we need to learn a bit more about it before we can provide an accurate estimate. So yeah, we try as much as we can to provide that initial ballpark cost. So you just you know, this is within our budget, and we can keep moving forward to sort it out and define everything, and then work on the design and development of it. All right, I think that that wraps it up. No more questions at this point, but if you have any, feel free to send them to myself or Gavin, and we'll also send out the recording to everybody as well.
Yeah,
Thank you everybody for attending.
There was just one more question, I think, Kyle, about if they have multiple prices set per customer for a product. Again, that's just without knowing that. But again, if it's in a table form, then the automation can be absolutely built for that. So again, that'll be a drop down to go from one product. We'd already have the price involved in that. So again, that'll be a drop down menu. I'm sure that's
setting up
not
some sort of matrix for this. To pull that. So yeah, it's definitely possible.
Awesome. Well, Cole, thank you so much again for taking us through, and thanks everyone for joining us today. And as we said, we'll be sending this recording out tomorrow. So again, any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out. Thanks very much.